Last week we saw former Prime Minister Scott Morrison give his valedictory address to Parliament, and in it you note that he was keen to play up his Judeo-Christian roots. Morrison said, and I quote, "We stand on the values that built our successful free society. All of these stem from the core principle of respect for individual human dignity, as does representative democracy and even a market-based capitalist economy. This is a uniquely Judeo-Christian principle." End quote. Now that sounds good, but Lyle, Morrison's speech has frustrated you. Why is that?
Yeah, it has, Ellie. Look, the words are fine. They are noble. They are true. And they are what Australia needs to hear, in my humble opinion, whether people share the Christian or Judeo faiths or not, because those are the values of our society. I guess the problem I have with it is that Scott Morrison was in the parliament for 17 years, 3 as Prime Minister, and as Paul Kelly from The Australian also noted, has only now chosen to champion his deepest held beliefs. He's always talked about his personal faith, but to call the nation back to this right as he's departing the parliament, I think is a little bit disappointing, particularly when he didn't stand up on issues like same-sex marriage, like human rights for the unborn. He threw campaigners for women's rights like Catherine Deves and Claire Chandler under the bus. The list goes on. So I'm just disappointed. It's one thing to talk about the values. It's another thing to live them out when you actually have the opportunity to be a parliamentarian and a Prime Minister.
Well, it's not just Morrison who had the opportunity for more than 17 years. It's also the coalition who were governing the country. Now, they didn't leave a single trace of these principles on Australia or lay a single claw on the left's sacred cows like the ABC or the university sector. Now, Lyle, when you say that you'd like to see figures like Morrison translate their faith into political advocacy, a lot of blue ribbon Liberals get nervous. Now, I presume you're not talking about a theocracy. What sort of advocacy would you like to see, instead of the Morrison era, what would you like to see the next Liberal leadership go for in terms of displaying this faith in their political activism?
Yeah, well, you're quite right. People like me, and I'm an out and proud Christian, if you're allowed to be out and proud about Christianity in this day and age, certainly not looking for a theocracy. We do live in a democracy, but the beauty of a democracy is that we have the ability and the privilege to propose things for the public good. And I would propose, and I think Morrison was proposing on his way out, that the Judeo-Christian ethic is a good thing for Australia. So I would like to see the next Liberal leadership pick up on that theme, because I think what we're seeing with the rise of cultural Marxism, it's an alternative religious worldview, if I can put it that way. I think you could make the case that cultural Marxism is a religion, certainly has religious overtones. We need to, as a society, choose what is the religious or philosophical base of our nation. And of course, that basis for Australia and Western civilization was the Judeo-Christian ethic. It's given us the rule of law, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, a whole bunch of good things, free market capitalism, etc., has come from this ethic. And we are at a crossroads as to whether we continue with this as our underpinning value system or not. And good on Morrison for suggesting we should go back to it. And I think certainly Peter Dutton and his colleagues should pick this up, as indeed should the Labor Party.